Obviously the big story for the last few weeks has been the stuff with Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite. And then we saw some other interesting stuff with this angle on Wednesday. So it started out with, and there were some references, and I heard that too. And then I saw it talked about on Twitter, and I was like, okay, it's not just me hearing this. So the Elite come out, and they have interview time, and they're like, want to squash the beef. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting phrase to use. And then I thought I was the only one. And then I saw other people on Twitter, and they're like, oh, okay, that's because I saw somebody else, they're like, am I the only one hearing this? And I'm like, no, I heard it too. Nope. So, okay, it's not just, so there was that. And then Brian Danielson pops up on the screen, and they're the dumb baby faces who don't know they're about to get attacked from behind. And Danielson is using words like amateur and stuff like that, and he
says it like he says fickle, like you used to say fickle.
Yes, he does. Or like
immediately.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, it was the vegan belt. That was one of my favorite belts.
Yeah, mine too. I loved it. Yes,
and so he says it just like that. I'm
waiting
like,
on him to yell tout. So because Renee's there, they can yell.
Yes.
So then they have
and I don't mind. Amateurs is fine.
You can it's fine. And so the segment I thought was really good. So then you see Blackpool is just, as you can see from the picture that we used for the show, he's got a chokehold on Kenny with a jacket, and they're just taking him out. And then the Young Bucks, like I think it was Matt Jackson that did the dive over top of the barricade to take somebody out. And then there's like Wheeler's getting attacked, and he getting dropped, and like it was a really violent segment. I mean, it was really entertaining. And then but I watched it originally, but I told Nikki last night I wanted to go back and rewatch it just to kind of see if there were things that I missed, because we were going to talk about it. And I saw it, but it didn't really click. Danielson did not get involved at all. Like he ran his mouth to distract him. He came out, started to climb in the ring, and saw what was happening, and he slowly gets back down and he leaves. And so I was like, Danielson is a shit stirrer. He's not getting
a
involved.
Mastermind.
He is. I was like, he was the decoy to distract them, but he came down there like he was going to help Blackpool, and he didn't. I was like, so that was kind of interesting. I was like, that might be a little thing to keep an eye on. I don't know if that's a seed for something else, or if it's just, I'm not quite sure what that was about, but I noticed it. Oh, Nikki clarified that was Nick that jumped the barricade, and he jumped onto Claudio. Yes, that's right. Like,
actually, that makes more sense because Matt's shoulders separated. He should not be doing spots.
Yeah, he says he feels better.
The rehab thing, but
yeah, and he was on BTE the other day and was talking about how he feels a lot better through the various treatments, and sounds like they're progressing a little bit more than he thought. I don't know. He's clearly not cleared for matches, but yeah, so there was that, and that it was really interesting that Danielson did that. So obviously then we see Don Callis start to come down, and then he's like, those dudes legitimately split my head open. Like, I'm not, I'm backing up. And so Danielson is like, this is the type of people you surround yourself with. But Danielson himself is not fighting. So he's calling out Don Callis for being chicken shit and walking away, when Danielson himself would not fight. He got down from the ring and he did not get physically involved. So
he
I thought
stirred everybody up and pointed them in the direction he needed them to go.
Right. And so I was like, oh, so you're telling Kenny this is who he surrounds himself with, yet you're not getting in the ring to help your boys. So I was like, that's really
how propaganda works, Sam. Don't you know?
It is. This is true. You're right.
That's how you get people to see reality the way you want them to see
it. Is true. That is true. And that's what Danielson seems to be doing. I didn't catch it the first time.
Although if he wants to go, he's going up against the invisible hand, so we better watch out.
That is true. So then we see Don Callis bringing down a very reluctant Takeshita. He's like pulling his sleeve of his jacket to get him to come down the ramp. And Takeshita's like, why are you making me come down here? And, you and I talked a few weeks ago, like we didn't know quite what Don Callis is doing with Takeshita. And so it seemed really odd that he was kind of fighting him. And then somebody pointed out that Takeshita saved Danielson a few weeks ago. I forget who he was getting beat down by, but Takeshita did, and I forgot about that. Takeshita did go help Danielson. So that's a little interesting dynamic that I was like, so is his loyalties with the Elite? I mean, he did tweet later that the Elite are awesome.
The Elite are awesome, and he's basically
and so
like inserted
he's hyping
himself
that
into
whole
the
thing
Elite.
up. But then, like, is Takeshita gonna be, because he's a babyface, so I don't see how you turn him heel. But I do see Danielson wanting him to be with them because, I mean, look at how amazing he is. And then somebody pointed out too. So then before we get to that part, so you see like Kenny is like, why is Takeshita here? Like, why did you go get him? Like, why? And then it was also interesting that it was because when we knew somebody was coming, and I was wondering, I was like, well, is it going to be Hangman? Because, you know, he's tried to help, but Kenny clearly doesn't want him there. Here, sorry. And but then you even see the Young Bucks get in the ring and they're like, why is Takeshita here? Like, what is happening? So the whole thing just kind of ends, and so we don't really know if Takeshita is in the Elite or like what. There's like some, it's really murky whatever is happening here. And then somebody had a thread, and I wish I had saved it, and good Lord, finally.
Your hair is coming after you
apparently
now.
it has something to say. But yes,
like,
Nikki did.
Nikki and the microphone are gonna go at it now.
Yes. So Nikki said she said Coda as a joke. She did say Coda. I can confirm. And so you have this interesting dynamic, but I saw a tweet and they were saying that like maybe Don Callis sees that Kenny is aging out. He's not as young as he used to be. Takeshita is the hot young thing.
God, everybody's retiring. Like in 2 years, we're going to have a giant retirement show.
I don't see Kenny going away anytime soon. But I think maybe in Callis's mind, he's like, well, he's injury prone. He's, you know, he's doing all of these things. He missed time because he had surgery and he was doing all this stuff. Takeshita is young and he's exciting and he's amazing. He's very right. He's everything Kenny was 10 years ago. Like it feels like it's kind of like that kind of a thing. So I do feel like Callis is going to turn on Kenny at some point. I don't know, because I don't see Takeshita as a heel. I mean, he could be. They could definitely do it. And then Nikki and I were talking, I was like, well, what if they bring in, because of Jon Moxley, I was like, what if they bring Shooter into this and do something with Shooter and Takeshita? But Shooter is like Tana Jr. and is like full on like the most baby face of baby faces too. So I was like, you can't really turn him heel either. So I was like, that doesn't quite work. So I don't know.
Make him like try to turn him heel in BCC and have it not fit.
Right.
Where you're doing that as like a subplot where like, yeah, I am one of you guys. No, I'm not really one of you guys.
Right. And see, and I guess they could also do that with Takeshita if they try to get.
That's what I'm.
If Danielson.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't know if they trust. They kind of have to, but I mean, Kenny has to dump Don Callis. Don Callis is a heel. Like he has to dump him if the Elite are going to be faces. So,
and another point that was brought up too is Kenny still doesn't know that the Young Bucks gave the okay for Hangman to hit him with that lariat to beat him, which was, a few weeks ago, they teased on BTE that Matt was finally going to come clean and tell him what they did. And then he didn't send the tweet or send the text message. And so that's still hanging over. Like, so Kenny is getting like, Kenny's going to be like, what are they? So I was like, Callis could turn on him. He could find out. I think Don Callis is going to tell him what the Bucks did to sow some distrust between them. I think he's going to make, before he turns on him, he'll be the one. He'll be like, they're not your friends. They helped you lose the title because they told their Hangman's friend that, why do you think they want Hangman back so bad? Like they're good, something like that.
And then maybe Kenny will get sick of him and be like, you're the worst and I don't need you anyway. And kick him to the curb, and Takeshita will try and do the thing. And maybe Don Callis will take some time off.
Yeah. So it seems like this is, this one, I don't think it's as cut and dry as it looks.
Probably need him an impact pretty bad.
Send him over there.
Everybody.
But so, and then somebody was talking about how like this is really good storytelling, and I was like, oftentimes Kenny is the center of that because people forget how good of a storyteller Kenny. Like, obviously, Kenny is one of the best wrestlers in the ring, and he has been for years, but his mind is overlooked, I think. And he's so smart when it comes to storytelling, and then that rubs off with the Bucks. And so they plant the little things. And I know people complain about, well, I don't watch Being the Elite, which is okay. They'll still bring it to TV at some point, but they're so good at planting these little seeds. And so now we're starting to get, I think Wednesday night, we started to see more of that, like with bringing the Takeshita down. Cause we've seen we've seen Callis, like he's scouting Takeshita. He went to PWG and scouted him, and they were supposed to use that for TV. And then they ended up scrapping that, I guess. But yeah, so it seems like that's starting to play off a little bit. And then we've got Forbidden Door coming up.
Yeah.
Like, does Shota get involved in that somehow?
When is Blood and Guts coming?
What was that?
When is Blood and Guts coming?
You would think, I'm assuming they're setting it up for Double or Nothing, because that's next month. Okay. So I think that, and if they're keeping Stadium Stampede separate and saving that for Wembley, then I guess that would be the best place to do it. Unless, I guess they could do it at Forbidden Door too, but then you would have...
Or they could do it in Detroit again, like they did last year on
May
May 10th.
They could do that for you.
That'd be great.
Oh, Mel's coming. We have to save Blood and Guts.
It's May 10th. I mean, you could do it.
That is true.
It's good timing. It's good build for
it's in between. It's right before the pay-per-view.
Right before, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They could do that.
Couple weeks. Right before, and then it's like 6 weeks before Toronto, which is like right next door to us. So,
and see, that's also how they could potentially bring Coda in, because
oh my God, if Coda showed up at freaking LCA, the play, like, I can't even. I would lose my freaking mind.
Yeah, and Coda has apparently said
he keeps making cracks about.
Yeah, Coda has apparently said he will come to AEW if they let him train the next generation of wrestlers, which is what he said about WWE. He said, if you want me, you have to let me train in the Performance Center. But I think he said that because he knows there's no way in hell that's going to happen. But Tony could potentially actually let him do it. So maybe he's just like, he's also Coda, and he's in his own little world, and he runs on Coda time 25 hours a day. So... He makes videos with no pants on, so who knows what that
guy.
Who knows what's happening with him?
He is like he's a carny.
He is. He might be a little bit of a himbo, but he's definitely got the carny blood. I think he's a lot smarter than people give him credit for. It's just his
that dangerous. It's that cute looking young, like it's the face. It's that face.
Yeah, it is. So I'd love to see Coda's involvement. But so this story, it's really fascinating, because this story is what the women's story should have been. This is what the Outcasts and Homegrown should have. Maybe not to this detail, but they should have been the most interesting thing happening on the show.